Could Jamaica face cuts in crucial financial aid from the European Union because of the ongoing crisis in the Eurozone? Even as Europeans brace for more austerity measures, and with Cyprus being the latest country to ask for a bailout, there is concern the shockwaves could reach Jamaica's shores. CVM's Kenil Gale is in Brussels, Belgium, ahead of an EU summit later this week, and it's one of the key issues he has put to officials there.
The European Commission is by far Jamaica's biggest international donor, doling out some 12 million euros in grant funding last year for various social and budget support programs. Therefore, a blow to the European economy, and particularly among countries which use the euro, could mean a reduction in the amount of money donor countries can afford to give, and in turn less money to fund programs in Jamaica. That's why the Senior Policy Coordinator for Global Issues at the European External Action Service is urging Jamaicans to pay close attention to what happens in Europe in the coming days, as the decisions made here will undoubtedly impact their lives.
The crisis may have important implications on European external assistance, so we need to monitor it. Certainly there is a risk that some ODA may diminish, maybe the risk that also some remittances and FDI may be reduced, and of course European investment abroad may become more selective.
Spain continues to be a major source of foreign direct investments into Jamaica. On Monday, Spain made an official request to the European Commission asking for assistance as that country struggles to prevent a crisis in its banking sector. Economists in Europe theorize that the Spanish situation is very different from the Greek crisis, and therefore the repercussions should not be felt in countries such as Jamaica, where the Spaniards have invested heavily. Meanwhile, the EU official points out that Jamaica and other aid beneficiaries should seek to create better environments for growth by more prudent use of grant funding and local resources.
Both in terms of grants and loans needs to be more efficient, needs to be more effective. There is also the need for more effective, more efficient domestic resource mobilization. Our money will be used in the new financial perspective, in the new programming cycle. Our money will be used more efficiently, and some emerging economies will be graduated from grants, and possibly they will move to European loans.
So, as Jamaicans wait to see what will be the outcome when major European leaders huddle here in Brussels at the European Commission summit on Thursday and Friday, they hope that the decisions taken will not adversely affect the EU's aid programs on the island. Reporting from Brussels, Belgium for CVM News, I'm Kenil Gale.
Now, there's been some concern about Jamaica's reputed homophobic stance and whether this could affect the level of funding we receive from one of our largest funding sources, Europe. Well, CVM's reporter Kenil Gale is in Belgium, Brussels, and he got some answers for us.
Scenes like this one in Jamaica have not gone unnoticed here in Brussels.
So come the man start beat him now and run in our house, I end up finding the role of them in there. Who not lie down and kiss them one another, who not play in a oofa ear, 3 of them run out and 2 of them get beaten.
Alleged homosexuals being forced to flee their homes because of their sexual orientation. Jamaica is known across Europe as a very anti-homosexual society. The head of the Caribbean division at the European External Action Service admits that this is a concern for Jamaica's largest provider of external aid. John Caligera tells CVM that the European Union has on a few occasions raised the issue of human rights for homosexual Jamaicans living on the island with the successive governments.
When I spoke about human rights, I simply said that human rights is one of the topics that we deal with in political dialogue with every single country in the world. We exchange views on all the topics, and these are always quite frank and very, very useful.
However, the EU official was quick to point out that despite the concerns raised by Europe about Jamaica's discrimination towards gays, the issue will not affect the disbursement of aid money to the country. John Caligera says there is no direct link between the granting of aid to Jamaica and the civil rights for gays and lesbians. The EU Caribbean head says while the group tries to encourage its partners to facilitate basic human rights for all through diplomacy, the organization will not withhold money for political purposes. However, he says that Portia Simpson-Miller's insistence during the leadership debate last year that homosexuals would have an equal opportunity as heterosexuals to be a part of the country's cabinet was a positive step.
Respect of human rights, universal human rights, is a very important element for the European Union, and we can do nothing less than applaud and encourage any movement which goes in the direction of the respect of human rights.
Meanwhile, another European Union official points out that countries which cannot show that enough effort has been invested into protecting minority groups such as homosexuals may see an adjustment to the conditionalities set out in the grant agreements.
We are very much inclined to apply a kind of human rights conditionality in all our bilateral agreements with our partner countries. We include always in the preamble political conditions which needs to be met in order to be eligible for receiving European aid or European assistance.
So as the Portia Simpson-Miller-led administration in Kingston ponders a conscience vote on the Buggery law sometime during this administration, EU officials here in Brussels will be paying closer attention to Jamaica's human rights achievements when they next meet to decide the allocation of grant funding. Reporting from Brussels, Belgium for CBM News, I'm Keneal Gale.
Thanks so much for staying with us, and a special welcome to you on Hot 102. We begin with news that a trade row could be looming between Jamaica and the European Union. European officials are upset with Jamaica this evening for failing to implement measures the country agreed to. 3 years after signing the Economic Partnership Agreement, Jamaica is yet to reduce tariffs on imports from Europe. This has left the European Union questioning Jamaica's commitment to global trade. Keneal Gale reports from Brussels, Belgium.
Still with many unanswered questions about the benefits for Jamaica, the controversial Economic Partnership Agreement EPA took effect in 2008. The deal, which was signed by Jamaica and 14 other Caribbean countries, was aimed at improving access for Caribbean goods to Europe and vice versa. The parties agreed that over a 3-year period there would be a gradual lowering of tariffs for specified goods to an agreed sum. However, Europe claims while it has fulfilled its part, Jamaica and some of its regional neighbors have not held up their end of the bargain. Jamaica missed the January 1, 2011 deadline to reduce tariffs on imports from Europe, and the EU is fuming.
We know that the Jamaican administration has been has undertaken already steps to fulfil other aspects of the agreement, and we're cooperating well with the administration. So we're certainly not at that stage yet, but we are concerned and we want these commitments to be fulfilled.
The EU is even more upset with Kingston because the communication to Brussels about steps being taken by Jamaica to reduce tariffs on European goods has been lacking, to say the least. With not much word from Jamaica explaining why the tariffs have not been cut, EU officials are beginning to question the country's commitment to the international agreement signed. Officials from the European Union will therefore be taking their concerns to the doorsteps of the Jamaican ambassador here in Brussels.
It would be with the Jamaican ambassador and the ambassadors of a couple of other states, simply to impress upon them that, that these initial tariff cuts are important.
In 2011, Jamaica earned a total of over $20 billion in revenue from customs duty, including on goods from Europe. EU officials theorize this may be one reason behind the country dragging its feet on the reduction of tariffs on imports from Europe, as this will undoubtedly affect the projected revenue from tax on imports. With the Jamaican government in talks for another agreement with the International Monetary Fund, it's clear the government will have to perform a delicate balancing act to prevent an erosion in revenues. The EU official says the organization is aware of Jamaica's fiscal constraints, but delaying the implementation of an international agreement is not the way to go.
It's clear that European Union